Good afternoon, and it's my pleasure to share the state of the city with the Chamber of Commerce and the citizens of West Linn. Most of you know that the beginning of this year was an intense one in the West Linn government. The council adopted their goals, and they also took on probably the largest land use hearing issue in the city's history. We had introductions earlier, but there are a couple of people I think that aren't here. City council members, Council President Mike Jones and Councilor Jody Carson are not here today. These are, after all, our council is virtually a volunteer position, and working for a living is sometimes necessary, and they're off working today, and we kind of miss them today. I'd also like to acknowledge we have with us this afternoon former mayor of West Linn, Norm King. Today I want to talk about what the LOT decision means to West Linn. I want to walk you through our goals and discuss our financial situation. Several years ago, Lake Oswego and Tigard developed a $250 million plan to address their water problems. It is known as LOT or LOT, and it brings significant benefits to West Linn. First, a primer on what our water system currently looks like. We co-own a water plant on the Clackamas River, and the fresh water is pumped to West Linn through a single pipe attached to the underside of the I-205 bridge. And there's a picture of the pipe right over there, and if you were standing there with those men, the deck of the bridge is above you, and it would be bouncing with the traffic. And this was all built before there were seismic standards. There are such things as metal fatigue. This pipe often gets leaks. The water goes from that pipe into our 99-year-old Bolton Reservoir, which sits on the side of a hill. It has a plastic liner which has broken, and water is coming up underneath the basin of the reservoir. From this reservoir, water is distributed to your home or business through a system of pipes which need about $10 million in maintenance. It doesn't take long to figure out that there are problems with virtually every part of this system. For any system, you need a backup source of water. And for West Linn, this is the intertie with Lake Oswego. Without that pipe, the only way to get water into West Linn is through the intertie. So what does the Lake Oswego Tigard project do for West Linn? LOT will rebuild their plant in West Linn, construct an intake pipeline from the Clackamas River under the Willamette River, and build a freshwater pipe down Highway 43 to Lake Oswego and Tigard. All of this will be seismically hardened, and West Linn will then be connected to this system via the intertie. And we will be further connected to a regional water supply. There's 53 million gallons of storage in Tigard, and we'd have connectivity to Bull Run water. This intertie will give West Linn a backup water supply of 4 million gallons per day through the year 2041. It is important to note that without LOT's water storage, West Linn would have to double the size of its reservoir to 8 million gallons and construct our own water main under the Willamette. Relying on this intertie then saves West Linn about $20 million. Let's look at the cost of water in other cities. This is now you folks can't see this, but this is where we are, and we're down here at about $20. That's what our average water bill is. If you go over to Lake Oswego, they're above 40.
They can't see it
Sure.
over there.
Lake Oswego,
I want everybody to see it.
Lake Oswego is the second to the one on the left, and you don't even want to know about Wilsonville. But if we are to, just a minute, you're doing fine. If we are to raise the 20 million, we would have to raise your water bills to one of the highest in the area. Okay, just go, turn that way just a little bit. No, you're doing fine. Just show those folks over there.
Mike is telling me to go down.
Okay. And the winner is,
Anna White could do it better, Alex.
the LOT project keeps our water rates low. In addition to those savings, West Linn will receive a $5 million lump sum payment for the use of West Linn's right-of-way. Now, we have a lot of time to think about this, but there's been some discussion about dedicating this money to water infrastructure, and I would think that replacing our 99-year-old Bolton Reservoir would be right at the top of the list. While this project brings benefits to the city, the council and staff are well aware that all infrastructure improvements have construction impacts. And this project is large, and it will reconstruct a major facility that has existed in the same location in West Linn for over 40 years. We recognize the burden that this places on that neighborhood, but the alternative is to raise rates and construct similar transmission lines and an 8 million gallon reservoir in other neighborhoods in West Linn. West Linn has endured many construction projects, from Trillium Creek School to subdivisions to the Arch Bridge. Construction is not pleasant, but we do have ordinances to mitigate these issues, and we are working to improve our relationship and communications with LOT. The hard reality is that our water infrastructure and the financing mechanism that supports it are failing. Council approval of LOT is a monumental step in solving several of our most pressing water infrastructure problems at great savings to West Linn ratepayers. I'd now like to shift gears and focus on the council goals for 2013. First, transportation system maintenance and improvements. Trails are a part of our transportation plan, and one of our goals is to adopt a trails master plan. The trails, oh, thank you.
I
The trails,
I can't see it. Nobody can see it, John.
the trails we're talking about aren't just your dirt path through the wilderness variety. The master trails plan relates to all methods of getting from one place to another by foot or bike, including sidewalks and walkways, some of which may improve access to your business. We also want to address crosswalks and lighting concerns on Willamette Falls Drive, as we would like to have more pedestrian-friendly access to the businesses along that area. Intersection improvements at Salamo and Rosemont. If you have students at Rosemont Ridge, or you commute through that intersection, or you visit the Adult Community Center, you know this intersection gets hazardous. So we will install a traffic light at this intersection at a cost of, what do you think? Can we have a guess? To install a traffic light.
1.2 million.
1.2 million. I got a bid for 1.2 million. Anybody else have an idea? Thank you. Boy, am I glad you were high. It's $350,000. Small intersection, I guess. We are going to do some improvements also to the paving around the intersection, so the total bill is going to be about $500,000. But as Paul indicates, infrastructure is really expensive. It's necessary and it makes us safer, but paying for it is sometimes rather difficult. Our next goal is the aquatic center, and a lot of people have told us not to spend money on an aquatic center when we have so many pressing infrastructure needs, and we understand that. At the same time, we have heard from a large group of citizens who are passionate about creating space for families in West Linn, and this group has been working for years on the concept of an aquatic community center. So we will conduct a survey to find out if there is support for an outdoor pool on the Parker Road area behind Safeway. Third goal is Blue Heron. We continue working on a master plan for this unique site on the Willamette. City staff brought together a diverse group of citizens to brainstorm uses for the site. The ideas range from fully developed site to a natural park. We are now waiting for additional review and feedback from the county. Fourth goal, water infrastructure. I thought we discovered that. Well, not quite, because even with LOT, we have to figure out how we are going to replace the Bolton Reservoir and how we are going to pay for $10 million worth of needed maintenance on our water pipes. Fifth goal, economic development. My first year in office, we formed the city's first economic development committee. And last year, we hired the city's first economic development director, Mr. Chris Kerr.
Hi, Chris.
And this week, we added an intern to assist Chris with outreach to our West Linn businesses. And we would like our government to be more helpful and less expensive. We want to review our codes and streamline the way we do business. Much of our code is old and inefficient. We have tasked our economic development director to audit and review our codes to figure out how the West Linn government can be more responsive to your needs. I go to ribbon cuttings when a new business is opened, and I usually ask, how did things go with the city? And I usually get a very positive response. But we just want to do better and to enhance our community's economy at less cost to you. We also want to think about the future of West Linn. You may remember that a couple of years ago, we did the Highway 43 Willamette Falls Drive visioning process, and that resulted in the identification of 4 areas in the city as having potential for redevelopment. The council has decided to invest in long-range planning for the Arch Bridge area. We know that it will take a collective vision and some partnerships to put together a workable idea for how this gateway to the falls and locks and some of the best views in town can become a more attractive asset. Now, Oregon City, across the river, they have applied to Metro for a grant to do planning on their side of the river. Well, we are also applying to Metro for a grant to do planning on our side of the river. There seems to be a center that could be developed here, something that's compatible. It may take 20 years, but if we don't start, we're never going to get there. So we intend to at least start the process. There is a 6th goal, which didn't make it on here, and it's our final goal. It's a centennial celebration for our community of 100 years, and we want to have a birthday party in mid-August, and you're all invited. So let's talk about finances for a few minutes. Local governments use fund accounting, which relies on funds or buckets to account for the revenues and expenditures. We have separate buckets or funds that have different sources of revenue, and we must budget from these individual funds to provide the designated services. Resources received for one fund can't be used for expenses for another fund. That's not like a business or your personal account where you can shuffle money around any way you want to. If we have a fund that is for the library and we have a great need for roads and the road fund is out of money, we can't spend library money on road. So you just do without the roads. It's an encumbrance, but we inherited this system and it's been put together piecemeal, and sometimes it makes life difficult in government when you don't have money to do specific things that you want to do and you've got an excess perhaps someplace else. There were 2 flyers that are handed out. They're on the table. One is actually inside of the other. This is the one I'd like you to look at first. This is about West Linn, and cities must have a balanced budget. And I want you to look at the little map on it. There's a little map, and you can see the dotted line circles West Linn at $2.12. Well, that's our permanent tax rate, and that was set almost 20 years ago and hasn't moved. And you can see the Lake Oswego there at over $5. Wilsonville, a little above us, but we don't have a large tax base, and we can't change that. We have no control over that. This year, we have a shortfall in our budget of about $1 million, as we will next year. Why do we have a shortfall? Well, you've heard of PERS. They just sent us a bill, and we have to pay it. And I think this year it's $400 and some thousand more than we had before. So we just have to write them a check. And that means there's $400 and some thousand less that we can spend on city services than we did last year. And there's no getting around it. We have to have a balanced budget. What's the other half of the shortfall? Well, you probably noticed that the economy is getting better, but sometimes property values still fall. And as property values fall, we get fewer of these $2.12 input. So that's costing us another something like $500,000. So we have some real tough choices to make, and I've now asked the city manager if he would start making a list of those things that we can no longer do. And if you read this pamphlet, and I hope you do, you will see right below the map where it says West Linn also has the lowest number of full-time equivalent employees than any city in the region. In other words, Mr. Jordan runs a real tight ship. We're probably getting more bang for the buck than any other city. And it's difficult. But we also know that the long-term viability on $2.12 is problematic. Also on the back of that, you'll see a comparison in utility bills. And we won't go through all this in detail, but I think it would be helpful if you peruse this and look at our utility bills, the ones you pay, and your counterparts in other cities in the area. The other thing I'd like to talk about very briefly is the other brochure, and this is from the League of Oregon Cities, and they are very concerned about your state tax system, as they well should be. And this has some information from their perspective on that tax system. There's a group of mayors of about 20 of us in the metro region. We all have the same problems. We have problems with our tax rate, problems with the amount of revenue, problems with the amount of services that are expected from our cities. Last year, we jointly wrote a letter to the governor and asked him, would you please have a task force look at the state tax structure, because some of us are really hurting out here. Will that happen? Don't hold your breath, but we would sure like to see something going on. We have a small tax base. We're also a relatively small city, and we are somewhat surrounded by other jurisdictions. We cannot expand. We don't have industrial land. We don't have Intels running us checks. We are kind of what we are. And partnerships become very, very important to us. How do you make do with less? How do you partner with folks? Our sewer system is operated by the county. Our water plant is a partnership with Oregon City. Our fire and rescue is a regional provider. Thank you for being here. Our backup water comes from Lake Oswego, and we share employees with 2 other cities. In summary, the city is doing pretty well. We are trying to do some long-range planning that will keep the city viable, and we're going to have more conversations about budgets and municipal services. And despite it all, we're going to have a birthday party. Thank you all for your attendance, and I would be happy to take questions. Alice Richmond. Anything you want.
Okay. John, will you have the opportunity to also give, if not a briefing of what you just have at the council meeting, that those our citizens can hear those important issues?
I think we're recording this. If this side of the microphone thing worked, we should have that recorded. That's going to go on the website, is it?
TVCTV.
It's going to go on TV, but we're going to have some parts of this on the website, aren't we?
Well, we'll make sure that on the website there is at least a link to the video so that anybody can watch it straight from our website.
Okay, thank you. Good outreach, thank you.
John, what
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the council's current thinking about a hotel?
I'll go with that.
We have an economic development director, finally. We have not focused specifically on a hotel. I think that's something that we might want to look at. I think that's something that we've wanted to do for a long time. We need, one of the things that we don't have, and part of it is our fault with our processes, is partners with development interests or landowners. We don't have that. We're trying to get there. We're just starting. The processes that we have had in place and our reputation is holding us back, we think. So we are trying to reach out to other governments, to Metro, and to those who are in the development community. But it's a slow process.
It does seem consistent with some of your goals to consider that.
We would like to. Don't suppose.
You mentioned the aquatic center, and I'm surprised to hear that current thinking is now an outdoor, a small outdoor pool as part of a project, part of, and that wasn't part of the original thinking. Being that we're going to compromise in that way, I was originally part of that task force that originally came up with the idea of the aquatic center. Has there been any talk, rather than compromising the type of aquatic center, creating a partnership between Lake Oswego, Tualatin, and West Linn to do it, maybe something larger in the Stafford Triangle?
The question is, for the aquatic center, we've gone through a couple of renditions of what the concept may be, and Mr. Bowes is suggesting that maybe we need to work with other partners in the area for a larger central located center. The task force, which operates independently, and they are the ones developing these concepts, they have gone through the process of looking at other jurisdictions. They tell us that that is not what is going to happen, which is disappointing because I think partnerships and making it one large facility might be more feasible, have a larger population, but they say, no, you can't do that. They were trying to do a covered one with other amenities in it. That didn't work out, so now they're down to one outdoor pool. They're going to, so we have to see if there's, that's what they're proposing. We'll see if that's viable. I'd sure like to have the kids go swimming. What else? Mr. Waters.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any comments as to the most recent state championship from the high school?
The West Linn High School basketball team are the state champs. They won the last 3 games by a total of six points.
Wow.
And 2 of the games were won by 1 point. Now, is this exciting? I mean, thank you. That's really neat for a city to have something like that. It's very inspiring, and for the people who participate, they will never forget that. Those are really high times. What else? Yes, sir.
John, is the city considering any formal action concerning the county's recent new approach to selling what we will call excess property?
Yes, we have been talking to them and as little as 15 minutes ago. And
He's shaking his head in here.
that's okay. Yes, their long-term process, we probably will not get involved in. The short-term process for that particular piece of property, we will have, we've been invited to have some additional discussions, which I think we will take advantage of. So thank you, Mr. Stoll.
No other
Can you
questions?
get also more sunshine now for the rest of the year?
You know, we've got a requisition in for that. And there's a good chance we're going to get some days and, yeah, we'll play golf even, I hope. Yeah. My foursome is playing golf today, and I'm...
I don't care about that.
No other questions?
No other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.